overall in January, I read 6 books. And if I'm honest with you, it was not the best start of the year for me reading wise. I read a lot of books that I was meh. I have 1 5-star, so that's a success. But overall, it was kind of a meh reading month for me. Honestly, I have a lot going on in my personal life, so I think it extended over to my reading life because that often happens to me. But either way, if you don't know what these videos, I start with my least favorite book that I read that month, working up to my favorite. So I have a lot of 3 stars, so I'm just going to kind of put those all in one. So the first one I want to talk about is Do I Know You by Emily Whipperly and Osman Sigma Broca. This one, unfortunately, was a 3-star for me. This is an author duo that was previously, they still do write a lot of young adult contemporary, which I have enjoyed. I don't read those anymore, but last year they made their big jump into the adult romance genre with the book The Roughest Draft, and I did really like that one. It's kind of a controversial one because a lot of people don't like it. I liked it a ton, so I was very excited for this one, and sadly I did not really enjoy it. So this book is about 2 characters, Eliza and Graham, and they are married and they're about to celebrate their 5th wedding anniversary, and they're having the rocky part in their marriage. Their parents decide to give them like a week-long trip at this really great hotel. So they go there, they accidentally get mistaken for singles because there's a big single retreat, and the wife's like, hey, let's just pretend to be singles and not know each other and like reignite that dating spark. And I really was just not into that. I was like, that's kind of weird. They stayed in different rooms. They acted like they didn't know each other. He was like, let me get your phone number. And I'm like, what? So I don't know. It was just odd. I love a good second chance romance. I really do. And I love books about marriages because I'm married. I love learning about different ones, dissecting them, all that kind of things. But this one just fell flat for me. That whole thing where they pretended they didn't know each other it wasn't horrible, but it just wasn't, I didn't think it was necessary. Another part of this is you don't really know why their marriage is rocky. You don't. They don't really talk about it. It's just kind of there. And it's miscommunication. I found this author duo writes miscommunication well. But the last book that worked out for me, this one, it did not. They just, at the end, it was all about Eliza being a horrible communicator, which I get. I am not the best communicator myself. Still, it just was kind of meh for me. I just did not enjoy it. Wasn't feeling the romance. Didn't think the whole pretending they didn't know each other worked out. 3 out of 5, sadly. Maybe it'll be a controversial book where everyone else loves it, but I don't. The complete opposite with their last one. I don't know. We'll see. Then we have another, both of these are kind of disappointing to me because I was really high hopes for this one and I really had high hopes for this one. What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. Again, another author that's previously known for their young adult books. She writes a lot of YA thrillers, and I have read one of hers and I enjoyed it. So I was very excited to see her make the jump into adult because her young adult books, at least the one I read, was very dark. So I'm like, she's going to write some weird junk. Or not weird, but dark stuff. And this one, yes, it was dark, but it was so predictable. Like, I could see the plot twist from 10 miles away, honestly. Like, they just literally were right there. Maybe, again, that's just me. As always with my reviews, I say take them with a grain of salt. But basically, this book, we follow a character named Naomi. And 22 years ago, when she was like, I forget how old she was. I want to say she was like 12 or something. Her and her 2 best friends, Olivia and Cassidy, they spent the summer roaming in the woods, playing like this goddess game. And basically, Naomi all of a sudden gets stabbed like 20-something times and miraculously survives. She says she saw the man that did it, who was a notorious serial killer, and he was put to jail. Now we pick up 22 years later, that guy that was a serial killer that was committed for these that killed all these other women, attacked Naomi, died. And Naomi has always had this suspicion that that's not really what happened. She didn't really see him, Her friends kind of told her that's what she saw. And so she decides to start investigating it a little bit more. I mean, it's very obvious, I feel like, from the get-go what happens. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Am I the best person to detect plot twists? No. Sometimes plot twists really shock me. Sometimes they're there, though. This one, I don't know. And also the characters, they were all horrible. Like, they all just, I don't know. I just didn't enjoy this one. I didn't enjoy the way it was written. I didn't enjoy the big mystery finales. I didn't enjoy the characters, honestly. I feel like I've kind of read this book before, if you will, with the whole, like, magic and the goddess game and things like that. I just felt like I've just heard it before. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on it. I don't know. But I just finished it and I was like, oh, so I gave it a 3 out of 5. So I promise you, Not every book I read this month. Well, most of them were just kind of meh for me. I don't know what to say. Next up, The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. I bought this book because everybody and their mother talks about it on TikTok. Like, if you know, you know. Like, romance has blown up on TikTok, particularly indie authors. And so I thought maybe, it's time for me to dip my pool into the indie author genre because I do not do that normally. I'm glad I did. This was an okay book. Again, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Do I think it's worth all the hype? I don't know. But I will be continuing on with the series. The covers, A+ on that. So this book is a series. It's called The Dreamland Billionaires, I believe. And this first book, we follow a character named Rowan. Each book is about a different brother. And basically, their grandfather is like Walt Disney. And he owns like Disney World and Disneyland, like Disney, but it's called Dreamland there. And he passes away and he leaves each brother like a kind of note of things he wants them to do before they get their inheritance. Rowan's is he has to run the company for like a year or 6 months or something to figure out what Dreamland's biggest problem is and dissect it and things like that. There he meets Zara, who is a worker at Dreamland, and she gets a promotion to be like an engineer, like, an Imagineer, what they call in Disney. And so they team up together. It's a hate to love romance where it gets steamy, things like that. I think my main fault with this one is I did not enjoy the characters that much. Zara was great. I enjoyed her. It was like a grumpy sunshine thing. I get it. But Rowan was just kind of an unlikable character. Another complaint I have with this is it was freaking long. Like it's like 440 pages. That is way too lengthy for a romance novel. Like way too lengthy. For me, a perfect romance novel is anywhere from like 300 to 400. 400 pushing it for me. 300 to 350 usually. So this one, almost 450 pages, that's a no for me. But I mean, I understand the appeal of it. I like the whole Disney thing. I think if you're a big fan of Disney and Disney Park and Disney World, Disney Land and all those stuff, like I don't dislike Disney and all that, but I'm not like fanatically and interested in it as other people are, which is totally okay. I think this is a big draw for that, but I will continue on the series because I am very interested in seeing what the other brothers' like assignments are from their grandfather because I don't know. The other brothers kind of intrigued me more. I think the next brother has to like marry somebody and get somebody pregnant, which I'm like, why would a grandfather like ask somebody to do that? Like, what? But either way, I'm interested, so I'll probably read them, but I'm not mad I read it, but it was just kind of meh for me. Then we have Cackle by Rachel Harrison. This book, I read a book by this author last year called Such Sharp Teeth. This is labeled as horror, and it's not horror. I think there's a big case of mismarketing for a lot of books. I've talked about that a lot. I can see why it's labeled as horror because this book is about witches, but is it scary at all? No. So this book, we have a character named Annie, and Annie has always been, kind of the good girl. She's been in this great relationship, and all of a sudden her boyfriend breaks up with her, and she's like, crap, I don't know what to do. And so she moves to this really, really small town called, I don't even know where she goes to. I want to say like Haven or something. And she meets a girl named Sophie there, and she's immediately drawn to Sophie. Something about Sophie just really interesting to her. They quickly become friends, and Annie starts to notice something's a little different about Sophie. She's a witch. Spiders are everywhere, things are happening. The townspeople are scared of her. They also respect her, but they fear her. And this book is all about their friendship. And overall, I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was a cute, cozy read. Like, the fact that it's labeled as horror baffles me. Like, there was no part in this book where I was like, holy crap, I'm petrified, usually as horror books are labeled as. But would recommend reading this near Halloween if you want kind of a cute witchy vibe. It was just okay. I just think if you're going to label it as horror, make it horror. Maybe that's just me. If I'd known it was just going to be a cute witchy time, I think I would have bumped up the rating a little bit more. But maybe I just need to know that with Rachel Harrison's book. So, I mean, if you want a cute witchy time that's not scary, but about friendship and stuff, I'd recommend it. And then my last 3 stars, X's and O's by Amy Lee. This follows a character named Tara who has been broken up with a lot. She's notorious for kind of being too clingy, being too obsessed with romance. She's also a romance book blogger. She reads a lot of romance novels. She's also a nurse. She's great. She moves in with her roommate, Trevor, who's a firefighter, and she quickly decides this project of like going back to her exes to figure out why they broke up with her and maybe see if there's a spark there, because she really, really wants to find the one. And that sounded really cute to me. I thought this whole project was cute. You could see a mile away where the plot was going. You could always see the romances, but that doesn't ever bother me. But this one, I don't know. It was cute. I didn't love the romance. I wanted kind of more of it. It was kind of not built up at all. It just happened like that. And I felt like it could have had some sort of build up more. And also with romance books, you spend 90% of the book getting to that romance, waiting, anticipating, yearning, all the yearning. And then it happens and then it ends. So I kind of want a little bit more after, you know what I'm saying? Am I the only one? I want not the whole book, but like maybe give me like 20% of it, you know, like getting a little bit of them. Maybe that's just me. That's just a qualm with all romance books, not this one in particular. But Tara, you know, she went through this X project, which I thought was really cool, but she went through it so fast that it made it kind of not interesting for me in a way. Like I was just like, oh, okay, so, I mean, it was cute. It's a great book to read near Valentine's Day, I'll tell you that. It's a cute romance one, but it just wasn't one of my favorites, sadly. It's kind of sad having like 5 3-stars. That's okay. You win some, you lose some. You win some, you lose some. You gotta have perspective. That's just how it goes sometimes. It's unfortunate it's beginning of the year for that, but whatever. But I will say my favorite book of the month is a 5-star, and that is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. This book, oh my God. This book made me kind of almost cry. It made me petrified. It made me never want to look again at my children's stuffed animals and puppets. Like, it was intense. So in this book, we have a character named Louise. She lives in California at the time, but she finds out both her parents have died really tragically. And she has to go back to, you guessed it, Charleston, South Carolina. I said that you guessed it because all of his books somehow take place in Charleston, South Carolina. And so she goes there and she has to meet her younger brother, who she does not have the best relationship with because he's kind of like a deadbeat. He doesn't do a lot. And they have to decide what to do with all their possessions, aka fight about it, because whenever somebody you love like passes away, it gets dicey with money. Like, I've experienced it myself firsthand. It gets dicey. Like, you see the worst of people come out, and it is not fun at all. Like, it is just is hard. So of course they fight, and the main fight is what to do with the house. Should they keep it? Should they sell it? And they decide they should sell it. And you know, the house is not like the best house because their mom was a puppeteer. She was a puppeteer for the church. She made all these puppets. Like, the house is full of puppets, and they notice the more time they're spending in the house that the house may be a little bit haunted, particularly by some puppets. If that sounds creepy, it is. I'm not one that's like overly scared of puppets because I don't watch a lot of scary stuff. I don't, but this scared the crap out of me. Like, holy crap. Like, if you want a book, I've said it and I will say it, I don't cuss a lot, but if you want a book that is batshit crazy, this is the book for you. A main puppet takes over of the name Pumpkin, that's right, and it is wild. Like, it is insane. But also with Grady Hendrix books is he has this such intense horror element that's kind of scary but also disgusting in ways, I know, but he always has a big underlying theme. With My Best Friend's Exorcism, it was about friendships. This one is about a brother and sister bond. So this one hit me on so many levels. I am an older sister. I have one younger brother. He is 4 years younger than me. We're very different. Let's just say that. I am very much the older sibling, you know? If you're an older sibling, you know. So I felt so much for Louise, and also she was a mom, and this book is just crazy. Like, I love it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I was not expecting, I had hopes to give it a 5 out of 5. With Grady Hendrix, I never know. This is like my 4th book by him, and I loved it. This might be my favorite by him. It was intense. Like, this book is the one book out of all of them that scared the crap out of me. Like, it made me never want to look, and like, whenever I'm cleaning up my son's like stuffed animals, I'm always a little bit more cautious now and being like nice, because you never know. You never know. So I don't know. I could go on about this book forever. If you want a book that's going to scare you with puppets, a brother-sisterhood relationship, scary, 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 I would highly recommend this one. Loved it. 5 out of 5. Will definitely be on my favorites book by the end of the year. So I guess in retrospect, if I have one of my favorite books of the whole year already in January, it can't be that bad, right? Right. So those are all the books that I read this month. I would love to hear what books you've read, if you've read any of these, if you have the same thoughts or same feelings, and etc. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.